Who built the pyramids? What archaeologists hide from us? What is inside the secret passages of the Great Pyramid of Giza? Are the pyramids really just tombs? Tombs of kings? To know the answer to all these questions, follow me. I am Nazi Suleiman, an Egyptian archaeologist. I will tell you more about the pyramids. Please stay with me. King Khufu assumed the throne after the death of his father, King Snefru, around 2580 BC. The period of Khufu's rule, according to what was mentioned in the Turin Papyrus, was 23 years. During this period, King Khufu completed his tomb, which took the shape of a complete pyramid, to be a burial place for his body, as well as to represent the path he needed in the underworld. But some did not believe that this great pyramid was just a tomb for King Khufu. Most of those were non-archaeologists or just amateurs. Many hypotheses have emerged that try to explain the reasons for building these pyramids. Some claim that the pyramids were built by beings from outer space, while others claim that these pyramids were built by the people of Ad. While some of the extremist thinkers said that these pyramids were electric power stations, or astronomical observatories. But what is the evidence of who are the real builders of the pyramids? In about 3600 BC, some tombs appeared in Upper Egypt and Lower Egypt, as well as taking the form of a mastaba. And in the year 3150 BC, Egypt became one country as we know it today, and it had a central government headed by a king who had a divine right to rule the land of the Nile. The tombs of the early dynastic era spread throughout Egypt, and they were all in the form of a mastaba. In the year 2640 BC, King Djoser ascended the throne of Egypt. He was a great king who loved building and construction works. Egypt at that time was a country whose economy was mainly based on agriculture, but for 4 months of each year the flood covers the land of Egypt, which causes an increase in the unemployment rate among the people. The central government in Egypt was thinking of exploiting the people's energy at the time of the flood and using this energy in national projects such as building the pyramids, for example. One of the projects of the Egyptian architect Imhotep was the construction of the step pyramid of King Djoser by building a group of steps that topped each other, 6 mastabas. During the era of the Third Dynasty, attempts to reach the complete pyramidal form continued until the appearance of the Meidum Pyramid, which is considered a unique architectural experience. With the beginning of the era of the Fourth Dynasty, King Snefru appeared, who is considered the first to build the pyramids in the form of a complete pyramid, as he built 2 pyramids in Dashur, known today as the Bent Pyramid and the Red Pyramid. Through this, we can understand the architectural development of the pyramids through the different eras of Egypt, and even reach the shape of the complete pyramid. The pyramidal shape continued to appear in the tombs of kings and nobles until at least the end of the New Kingdom, that is, approximately 1,600 years. But the question that everyone is looking for an answer to is, why did the Egyptians choose the shape of the pyramid to be the tombs of their kings? The Egyptians believed that this universe was an ocean of eternal water on which the first piece of land appeared in the form of a pyramid. Likewise, religious texts in ancient Egypt indicate that kings take an elevator in the form of a pyramid to heaven after their death. This explains the importance of the pyramids in ancient Egypt, as they are national projects, buildings that kings need to reach the sky, buildings in which great kings are buried. But why were the bodies of these kings not found inside the pyramids? Around 2300 BC, the central government fell in Egypt, and what is known as the First Intermediate Period began. Chaos ensued, tombs were stolen, and what should not have been lost was lost. In about 1650 BC the Hyksos invaded Egypt, and in the aftermath there was chaos, tombs were robbed, temples were robbed, people were brutally murdered. After the expulsion of the Hyksos, Egypt lived one of its brightest historical periods until the middle of the 20th dynasty, when sources mention the spread of tomb thefts again. During the late periods, Egypt was invaded more than once until the Roman invasion around the year 30 BC, and during these periods the tombs were looted, vandalized and sometimes destroyed. The pyramids were more vulnerable to thefts during periods of weakness of the central government in ancient Egypt, due to their well-known location and easy visibility for kilometers. The pyramids were looted, but the coffins inside them still express the reason for building these pyramids, as well as the tombs of the workers who built these pyramids, and the inscriptions of their tombs remained. It clearly tells us why these pyramids were built. There is also what the ancient historians and travelers mentioned about the reasons for building these pyramids. And one day all the lies will go away and Egypt will remain strong and lofty like the pyramids. Dr. Nazi Suleiman was with you. Thank you for listening. And I wish you a good day. Hope we meet in a new video next week.